Good afternoon. I'm back after a couple of weeks break. Well, not really a break. I have still been on racing, but I've not really been touching the daily. It's just not been my bag. But this week, Daily Race B on Autodrome Lago Maggiore. Now that's a bit of me. Now, I have set a lap time. It is pretty good considering I'm using the car that not everyone else is. So I'm currently using the Porsche. Everyone else seems to be in the Nissan GTR, the M6 or the Merc. Now I've done it in the Porsche and I've managed to get 170th in the world with a 156.777, which I thought was pretty good. So yeah, I thought I'd do you a little track guide. So yeah, I won't jabber on too much. I'll get straight into the track guide. I hope it does help you. And yeah, let's get into it. So, the lap. Now, before I get started, those of you that have been doing the dailies would have probably noticed that for daily C and B, they're allowing a little bit of setup tuning you can do to the cars now. Now, as a rule, I generally don't touch it. I just go with the car as it is out the box. But I believe you can change your anti-roll bar and your diff and your brake bias. Now, for me, generally, as a rule, I always just run 0 for my brake balance on most tracks, but again, that's driver dependent. It's each to their own, but for me, yeah, I just leave it as it is out the box. It's fine. So yeah, the lap. So for turn 1 here, you will see there next to my name there on the left hand side of your screen, you've got your red, white and green tyres as you exit the pit lane. That's my reference for turn 1 for braking. As soon as my car is right next to them, that's when I'm 100% on the brakes all the way down to first gear, utilising as much of the curb as you can as you turn in. So you'll see here, look, I'm all over that curb, then briefly back on the power until I get to about here. Now you'll see this red and white and yellow section. Use all of it. You can use so much of this and you won't get a penalty. As long as you're tyres on the left hand side of your car don't go beyond the red and white curb and go onto the yellow, you're fine. But you'll see here when I turn in, I'm all over this. It just allows you to get back on the power so early. You see I'm all over the yellow there, back on the power flat out, using as much as you can on the right hand side here, then a slight lift about now, rolling the car through, briefly back on the power until I get to here. Now you'll see there on the right hand side of your screen you've got the orange rectangular crash barriers. That's my reference for this next corner. As soon as my car are right next to them, I'm on the brakes, probably 20-30% all the way down to first gear, and then you'll see I short shift up to second for my exit. So down to first, and there's the shift up to second. Now getting on the power here is a waiting game. You've just got to be patient. If you get on the power too early, you will run really wide onto the grey and you risk getting a penalty. Now you can go onto the grey quite a bit, but you've just got to be careful here when you get back on the power. But when you do get back on the power, you're flat out all the way down here. Now I generally don't use any of these 100 metre or 50 metre boards for my braking point. I use this grey section of curb here on the left hand side next to the track. As soon as my car gets to the end of that, that's when I'm 100% on the brakes all the way down to second gear, turning in nice and tight to the curb. That just enables me to get on the power nice and early. But down to second, turning in nice and tight on the curb, flat out now, utilising that curb if needed on the left hand side, and then flat out all the way down here until here. So you'll see there's this red and white section of curb here. Now for me, I generally, as soon as my car gets to about the center of that red and white curb, that's when I'm on the brakes. As soon as my car gets to about the center, that's when I'm on the brakes, starting to turn in, going down to second gear. I'm on the brakes, down to second, and then you'll see I short shift up to third. Now you'll see here where my car is now, I'm all over that curb, and that checkered bit of grass there, you can get all over that and you won't get a penalty. Utilise that, it just allows you to get on the power earlier and maintain your speed through this twisty section. So yeah, back on the power, flat out all the way through, utilising the curbs there and there, flat out. Now it is a bit of a tricky section to get right, that may take a couple of attempts to get right, so you do it flat out, but once you do it, it's so rewarding. And so you flat out all the way down here, And then when I get to about here, this is my braking point for this next hairpin. Now, generally, just before the 50-meter board, this is where I'm hard on the brakes 100% all the way down to first gear. Now, you'll see when I turn in here, see you've got this white section with those 3 yellow curbs in it? Get all over them. You can get your car right on them and you won't get a penalty. And you'll see I short shift up to second and then I'm back on the power, climbing the hill now. Now this next section is flat out all the way down here. Use the curbs, especially use the curb on this next one here because you will drift wide onto the grass if you don't. And for this next section, I generally didn't have a reference point. I had to watch the replay back, but I tend to use the 100-meter and the 50-meter board. You'll see the 50-meter board there on your left-hand side. As soon as your car's in between the two, the 100-meter and the 50, that's when you're hard on the brakes 100%, and I turn in second gear on this. Some people may want to do it in third, but for me, I do it in second. So down to second, back on the power, and then you'll see there, when I get to the end of that curb, I do shift up to third briefly for a moment, and then you'll see here, just to get the car rotated in for this next corner, I go down to second, and I utilise so much of this curve on the right-hand side here. Down to second, and then I'm back on the power using the curve there and here, and you flat out all the way down here until I get to approximately here. Now you'll see there on the right hand side of your screen you've got that metal post with the black Magyar sign on it. That's my reference for this final corner here. As soon as I get to there, I'm hard on the brakes all the way down to third gear. Now this double section of curb here, the red and white curb here next to the white line, you can get your car all over them. You'll see here I don't utilise as much of it as I should have. I probably could have got another half a tenth or a tenth quicker if I utilise more of them. It does allow you to get on the power earlier, but in this instance I don't. But yeah, get your car on there as much as you can. But then when you get back on the power, you're flat out now all the way down here till you cross the line. Now I crossed the line here with a 156.777, which, as you've seen at the start of the video, was good enough for 170th in the world. Now for me that ain't a bad lap, and I'm fairly happy with it. So yeah, there's the lap, guys. I hope you have enjoyed it, and I hope it does help you. I will run the lap back for you now so you can watch it without all the stopping and starting. Right, let's run the lap back. And there you have it. So yeah, I hope this lap guide has helped you. for those of you using the Porsche. And yeah, we will hopefully catch either myself or Wally next week for another track guide. And yeah, we will catch you all soon. Peace out.